Part 40. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 391. A week later. Have you heard about it? Nine-tailed, the main god of the demon star, actually has a father. Of course I heard about it. Who in the 7 civilizations doesn't know about this? I never thought that Nine-tailed, the creator god of a planetary civilization, actually has a father. It's unbelievable. It seems that some people speculate that Nine-tailed's father is the creator of the competition tower. This speculation makes sense to me. This can also explain why there are gods among the guardians of the competition tower that appeared out of thin air in the competition tower. It seems that when we challenge the competition tower, we are challenging the main god. In this week, the topic that Nine-tailed has a father and that his father is likely to be the creator of the competition tower has spread to every corner of the 7 civilizations. On this day, in a hotel bedroom outside the competition tower, a man was standing in front of the balcony, holding a red wine in his hand, looking at the moon in the night sky. Before, the Pangu people who knew nothing called the moon the moon. It was not until later that they knew that the moon was the god realm, where the main god stayed. The god realm is a forbidden place for the 7 civilizations, a forbidden place that no one can touch, but this god realm is a satellite of Pangu star. The man smiled. It's really interesting. Suddenly, his pupils condensed slightly, and his smile was restrained, that is. In the sky, a group of pure white blonde girls emitting holy light slowly fell from the night sky towards the direction of the competition tower. In this night, these blonde girls are like the moon, holy and bright, as if spotless. This scene was seen by everyone near the competition tower. Countless blonde girls with holy wings are like stars, illuminating the night of the competition tower. Look, it's an angel. Everyone who saw the scene was stunned. One by one, they looked up at these angels in the sky. No, look, there are other things behind the angels. 2 giant dragons, one blue and one yellow, soared behind the angels and slowly fell with the angels. It's a dragon. A winged dragon. Oh my god, that's Yinglong, the main god of Yinglong star, and Yinglong's partner, the other main god, Polaris. Oh my god. Look. There's more. There's also a huge blue dragon with a beard following the angels and the winged dragons. The old dragon with a beard, oh my god, it's Jinglong. I'm dizzy, shit. The creator of the dragon civilization, Qinglong. It's the main god. It's the main god. Wait a minute, those angels flying in front are all female. The angels in the angel civilization are both male and female, all female beings who look like angels. Could it be the god realm? Oh my god, those flying in front are not angels, but the main gods of other civilizations and other gods in the god realm. Oh my god, the gods of the god realm have descended. Oh my god. Am I dreaming? The gods of the god realm have gathered on Pangu star. Soon, those people recognized the identities of the unknown life forms flying towards the competition tower. They also realized that those who looked like angels were not angels, but gods in the god realm. All the main gods of the 7 civilizations plus other gods in the god realm. All the main gods and gods in the god realm have descended on Pangu civilization. All the life forms near the competition tower who saw this scene, no matter which civilization they came from, seemed to have stopped their brains. For all the life forms of the 7 civilizations, the main gods are ancient beings and omnipotent beings. They have all retired to the god realm since ancient times and rarely show up. The life of the main gods is very long, so when these main gods retire, many life forms in civilization cannot see them. For many life forms, they only exist in legends and have no chance to see them until they die. And at this moment, all the people in the competition tower were lucky to see the true faces of the main gods and gods recorded in 1 or 2 legends, but at this moment, watching all the main gods and gods in the god realm descend to Pangu civilization, This thing itself is shocking enough. When seeing it with their own eyes, the brains of those life forms stopped turning directly, and they could not think at all. There was only deep shock and disbelief. Even Mulan, the commander-in-chief in the Pangu civilization headquarters, saw the gods descending from the sky through the images transmitted by satellite. She couldn't recover for a while. As the commander-in-chief of Pangu civilization, she occasionally comes into contact with killer whales, one of the 7 main gods of civilization, and learns about other main gods from killer whales. But when she sees these main gods appear in front of her one by one, Mulan almost stopped thinking. But as the commander-in-chief of Pangu civilization, she has to think. Why did the gods descend from the sky? Mulan said. These main gods suddenly descended from the divine realm to Pangu star. What do they want to do? Command. A voice came from the side. Hearing this voice, Mulan looked at the female assistant beside her. The female assistant's eyes trembled, and her lips trembled as she looked at the scene in front of her. She said, I have a guess. Are they all here to see that person? When the female assistant's voice fell, Muian's mind immediately emerged with the casual boy with a chicken coop hairstyle that she had seen before. In an instant, goosebumps appeared all over Muian's body. It's him. Mulan looked at the screen and said, it's him, it must be him. The gods descended from heaven for him. Mulan swallowed. The killer whale cannot disobey him. He is also the father of 9 tails. So what is the relationship between the other main gods and him? What kind of existence is he? Mulan's voice was trembling. When the killer whale told her before, she only knew that Shenmue might be very powerful. When Shenmue created the competition tower and saw the strength of those guardians, she realized that Shenmue was very powerful. But now that she saw all these gods and gods coming for Shenmue alone, she could no longer imagine it. How powerful is Shenmue? She can only put a question mark on this power. The Lord God is the supreme being. For all life in the 7 major civilizations, the Lord God is truly invincible and truly supreme. But now they realize that there is another existence above these supreme gods. So how powerful is he? What kind of existence is it? Why is there never such a person in the records of the 7 major civilizations? Mulan had a hard time thinking. At the same time, in the picture, the main gods fell to the ground one by one. The first one to land was a blonde. Then the other blonde girls with wings landed one by one. The 2 winged dragons turned into a man and a woman and landed on the ground. Qinglong turned into an old man with a beard and landed on the ground. With the main gods and gods falling, everyone in front of the gate of the competition tower took the initiative to give way. Some people have even taken the initiative to kneel down. When someone kneels down, others nearby follow suit. For a moment, all the passers-by knelt down in front of them. No existence dares to stand in front of these main gods and gods. Although the Lord God has not said that people need to kneel down when they see them. But seeing these main gods, at this moment, there is no life in the 7 major civilizations that has the courage to continue to stand. The girl Yinglong turned into a human hand, stretched out her hand, took Polaris, pulled Polaris, and ran towards the competition tower. Polaris, don't be in a daze, hurry up, I can't wait to see the ancestor. Polar Star was pulled by Yinglong. His face was full of helplessness and he could only be pulled and ran inside. When Lu Yi saw it, there was a smile on her face. She turned around and looked at the angels Wei Wei and Qing beside her. The 3 of them nodded in agreement and led everyone inside. Seeing that this group of main gods and gods are about to enter the competition tower, suddenly, a voice sounded. Hey, why are you all here? What are you doing? Along with the sound, Shenmue pushed open the door and walked out of the competition tower. He looked at the little guys in front of him, feeling a little depressed. Seeing Shenmue, the eyes of the main gods and gods lit up. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 392. Chen Mu was a little depressed. Why all these little guys suddenly came? Zhu Wei and the killer whale were pestering Chen Mu, especially Zhu Wei, clamoring to live with Chen Mu. Chen Mu had a headache and was depressed, but he couldn't bear Zhu Wei's coquettish behavior. I can only agree to let her live here, but okay, the space on the top floor is very large, and it is not difficult to build another room for her. But now that so many people are coming, what does it mean? You don't have to imitate Kuabai and live here, right? This made Chen Mu worried. Yinglong took Polaris' hand and trotted to Chen Mu's side. Her beautiful eyes were filled with joy, and she smiled and said, "First ancestor." Polar Star saw Chen Mu. After such a long time, he was still a little shy and reserved as before. He said softly, "Ancestor." Lu Yi also came over. She smiled and said, "The ancestor." Behind Lu Yi, Angel Weiwei and Angel Qing also greeted Chen Mu at the same time, "First ancestor." Qinglong, whose face was full of joy, also came over. He smiled and said, "First ancestor." The other angels behind him also spoke. "Lord ancestor, okay." To Chen Mu, these angels are nothing more than angels who have been given the title of Lord God and God by the beings of the 7 major civilizations. They are still angels, but they are not the same kind of angels as the angel civilization created by Lu Yi. When the voices of these main gods and gods sounded, these voices merged into one, and the sound of ancestor echoed for a long time. This voice not only answered in the air, but also echoed in the hearts of all the onlookers watching on the field. The eyes of those people looking at Chen Mu changed. Chen Mu was now staring at the messy hair that he had just woken up and had not yet tidied up. He was wearing a white t-shirt, black pants, and a pair of slippers. He looks like a young man in his early 20s with this outfit. As he walked on the road, in the eyes of many people he was probably just an inconspicuous poor loser. But at this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. The highest and most respected gods of the 7 major civilizations gathered in front of them. They shouted the word ancestor to the man who looked like a poor loser. Within the commander-in-chief of Pangu civilization, Mulan looked at the scene on the screen. Through the recording of the on-site equipment, she could see and hear what was going on at the scene. When hearing the sound of the ancestor, Mulan's eyes trembled slightly. The 7 major gods created the 7 major civilizations. Everyone knows that the 7 major civilizations come from the 7 major creator gods, but no one knows where the 7 major gods came from. Ancestor, the beginning of all things, the ancestor of all things. Mulan looked at Chen Mu in the screen. I understand, I understand. The main god of the divine world was created by him. He is the beginning of all things, and he is the ancestor of all things. Although Mu Ian's reason had helped her clarify all the connections, the answer her reason deduced made her feel confused. Shivering. Unimaginable, unimaginable. Apart from the Supreme Lord God, there is such an existence. The ancestor of the Lord God, the origin of all things, the beginning of all things, and the ancestor of all things. Incredible. Incredible. Equally unbelievable were all the people who heard this and knelt down to watch the scene. Kuabai's call of Dad was enough to shock them, but at this moment, all the main gods actually called him ancestor. Chen Mu looked at Yinglong and Polaris in front of him. These 2 little guys turned into human forms. Polaris was about the same height as Chen Mu. Yinglong is slightly shorter and is of the height of a normal girl. Chen Mu looked at the smile on Yinglong's face. The depression in Chen Mu's heart dissipated a little. He raised his hand, stroked Yinglong's hair, and said with a smile, "You have become the main god of civilization, and you are still so naughty, like a little girl." Yinglong was slightly startled. She closed her eyes with a smile on her face, enjoying Chen Mu's touch. Beside the ancestor, Yinglong will always be a little girl. Chen Mula was happy. He took back his hand, looked around, and his eyes fell on Lu Yi. Eyes facing each other. Lu Yi smiled, with joy in her eyes, "Ancestor." Chen Mu's eyes moved and fell on Angel Qing beside Lu Yi. Angel Qing looked at Chen Mu and she smiled. Angel Qing in this time period is still Angel Qing, she has not yet become Reina. They are all the same as they were originally. In the future, Angel Qing becomes Reina, and Angel Vivi becomes like a mortal enemy. But now the three women stand together, completely acting like three good sisters. Thinking of the future situation, Chen Mu felt inexplicably uncomfortable. In the past, Chen Mu had any emotions, but now Chen Mu is a human being. As a human being, looking at the lives they create, they will hate each other in the future and become like enemies. Chen Mu felt very uncomfortable. Chen Mu said, "Sunny." Angel Qing looked at Chen Mu. Chen Mu said, "Insect Star, you need to use some tough measures to restrict them with justice and order. If there are no rules, there will be no rules. If this continues, Insect Star will lose control." Angel Qing was slightly startled, and she was a little worried. "Ancestor, I..." Chen Mu looked at Angel Qing's fearful and uneasy look. Chen Mu smiled and said, "Don't be afraid." Angel Qing looked at Chen Mu. Chen Mu showed a gentle smile. Angel Qing looked at Chen Mu's smile, and her fear and anxiety slowly dissipated. She could feel Chen Mu's gentleness. Chen Mu turned slightly, looked at the stars in the sky, and said slowly, "The reason why the insect star became like this is not because of you. I am not scolding you, nor am I blaming you. Insects are ruthless by nature, and they need to reproduce, so they naturally become cruel and disorderly. It's the same with people. People have wisdom, but if there is no moral restraint and legal restraint, people are just beasts with high wisdom. Since the character of insect people is worse than that of ordinary people, let the restraint and punishment be worse." At this point, Chen Mu looked at Angel Qing and said, "Besides, isn't the insect star short of food?" Angel Qing was slightly startled, and she said, "Qing, I understand. In this way, the matter on the insect star is solved. The reason why the insect star will be out of control in the future is actually mainly due to Angel Qing's indulgence. Angel Qing's indulgence in the insect star is what she learned when she followed Lve to help Chen Mu look after the Pangu civilization. It is naturally inappropriate for Angel Qing to manage the insect people in the way she manages people. This will lead to the insect star space-time and Angel Qing's degeneration into Lina. Chen Mu only needs one word, and the future will change completely." After Chen Mu finished speaking, Chen Mu looked at Lve and said, "So, you all came to me together, is there anything else?" Seeing Lve, Chen Mu suddenly thought of a person. Chen Tian. Chen Tian is still young, and he can't use the sword of order. After all, he is too young and has just been born. In this case, Chen Tian needs someone to protect him. Otherwise, there are so many accidents. If Chen Tian is accidentally taken away by a car or some blind guys do something, it will not be good. Chen Mu looked at Lve. As the main god, Lve, they seem to be very idle recently. Otherwise, how about making some arrangements? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 393. It's not good for these guys to stand here all the time. There is a group of people kneeling next to them. Chen Mu looked at the kneeling onlookers around him. He withdrew his gaze and looked at the main gods in front of him. He said, "Since we are here, let's all come in. It's just right. I plan to say something." After saying that, Chen Mu entered the competition tower on his own. Lu Yi and others also followed Chen Mu into the competition tower. Hearing footsteps behind him. A string in Chen Mu's heart was plucked. That's not right. Two words blurted out from his mouth. Huh. Yinglong next to him looked at Chen Mu beside him, and she said doubtfully, Ancestor, what did you just say? Chen Mu came to his senses and said with a smile, I didn't say anything. At this time, a voice sounded in Chen Mu's head. Wrong. No. No. Wrong. None of it is right. The smile on Chen Mu's face slowly faded. The greenery behind them seemed like they had rarely been together before. They followed Chen Mu, talking and laughing. Listen to their voices talking and laughing. Chen Mu couldn't help but slowly clenched his fists. No, that's not what I want. Along with the messy thoughts in my mind. Chen Mu felt a pressure on his heart. That is the qi accumulated from various emotions. Everyone has emotions, and when these emotions accumulate to the limit, they can crush a life. Perhaps, when a person is talking and laughing, his inner emotions are already crushing his life. Some people can't understand that a person who was chatting and laughing with you yesterday ended up jumping off a building and committing suicide the next day. Emotions will be hidden, and others cannot see the hidden emotions. Chen Mu led everyone to his residence. Enter the gate. In the hall, Killer Whale and Zhu Wei were sitting on the sofa watching TV. When they saw Lu Yi, they came over. The Killer Whale and Kuabai both had smiles on their faces. They're all here, the Killer Whale smiled. Kuabai stood up, his face full of joy. They gathered together, talking and laughing. Next to them, Yinglong and Polaris were holding each other's hands. The girl Yinglong had a playful smile on her face, while Polaris' face was still as reserved and uneasy as before. Qinglong next to him was stroking his pale beard, with a kind smile on his face. They gathered in groups in the greenery next to them, chatting and laughing, telling stories about the past. Next to them, Zhu Wei was sitting next to Lu Yi and the others, chatting with Lu Yi about Chen Mu. They were joined by a nearby Killer Whale. The whole room was talking and laughing. Looking at the scene in front of me, Chen Mu had various thoughts in his mind. Is this what you want? Is this the ordinary you want? Is this the feeling I want? No. Wrong. None of this is right. Wrong. Ancestor, a voice interrupted Chen Mu's thoughts. Chen Mu came back to his senses. He looked at the person talking next to him and saw Yinglong looking at him, with a trace of doubt in her eyes. As soon as Yinglong said this, everyone next to him looked at Chen Mu. Yinglong said, Ancestor, your face doesn't look good. Chen Mu forced a smile and said, I'm fine. No, what I want is not these. That's not what I want to see. I want to feel something other than these. I have evolved for hundreds of millions of years, and what I want is not these. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Smile. To please the creatures you created? Be a good father and take good care of your children as a father? No, no, none of that. That. Ancestor, didn't you just say that you had something to say? Yinglong smiled and said. Chen Mu took a deep breath and said with a smile, I can just tell Lu Yi about this. You don't need to know. With that said, Chen Mu looked at Lu Yi and said, Lu Yi, follow me. As he spoke, he raised his hand, and a space-time gate appeared next to Chen Mu. Chen Mu stepped into the gate of time and space. Through the gate of time and space, Chen Mu's figure appeared on a deserted planet. He stood on the surface of the planet and looked at everything in front of him. So what do I want? Don't I want to be ordinary? Yes, I want to be ordinary. I want to experience emotions, I want to know how to feel those feelings. I want to be an ordinary person. Ordinary people who can cry and laugh. But have I cried? Have you ever laughed? Are those fake smiles smiles? What am I? What do I want to be? What am I? What do I want to be? No, as long as I am Chen Mu. As long as I am Chen Mu, it is impossible for me to cry or laugh. Chen Mu raised his hand and looked at his hand. Even if I gain my previous consciousness and previous memories, I am not an ordinary person. Chen Mu couldn't help but clenched his teeth. Ancestor, suddenly, a voice came from behind. Behind Chen Mu, Lu Yi stood there, looking at Chen Mu's back in confusion. Chen Mu was shocked when he heard what Lu Yi said. Disgusting, so disgusting. Chen Mu turned his back to Lu Yi and said slowly, there is a man named Chen Tian in Fengda City. I want you to accompany him and protect him. Do you understand? Why? Why is this so? Why should I do this? This is not what I want, so disgusting. Lu Yi was stunned, and she stared at Chen Mu's back. Lu Yi came back to her senses and said, yes. Chen Mu said, go back. Lu Yi looked at Chen Mu's back, and she felt a little strange. But she could truly feel that this was her creator. But, it's different. Something is different. Lu Yi said, yes. With doubts in her mind, she turned around and walked through the door of time and space and left. The door to time and space is closed. Chen Mu was the only one left on this desolate planet. The evolution I seek, the evolution I believe in, is meaningless. I want to feel emotions, I want to become an ordinary person, I want to be myself again. I simply can't do it. I am who I am. Even if I get back my body, consciousness, and memories before I turned into a sea squirt larvae, I can't abandon my previous experiences. As long as Chen Mu exists in this world, I will never be able to become the person I once was. That's not what I'm after. This is not what is being pursued. This is not what is being pursued. That's not the point of me. This is not the faith I want. At this moment, all the emotions condensed in Chen Mu's mind, and those emotions that had been subconsciously ignored by Chen Mu finally broke out at this moment. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Chen Mu started laughing wildly. Crazy laughter echoed on this planet with a sparse atmosphere. I am the ancestor. I am the beginning of all creation. I am the ancestor of all things. I am the creator of the Lord God. I'm a joke. I don't even know what I am. I don't even know what I want. I pretended to be my old self, I pretended to be myself transformed into an ascidian larvae. I pretend I can laugh and I can cry. Nausea. Nausea. Ha ha. Wild laughter echoed throughout the planet. As long as Chen Mu exists, I will never be able to go back to the past. As long as I still exist, I am still the ancestor. As long as I exist, then I can't get what I want. As long as I exist, I don't feel all meaning. Even if I go back to the past time scale, even if I go back to myself before I became an ascidian larva, my consciousness, my strength, everything about me is still there. The laughter slowly subsided. Chen Mu's red eyes were filled with tears. He gritted his teeth and blood overflowed from the corners of his mouth. He stretched out his hand. There is a black door of time and space in the void. He penetrated deep into the gate of time and space. At the same time, on top of another galaxy, a giant hand appears. That giant hand held that galaxy. I want to make a sword. A sword that can cut through everything. This sword is composed of consciousness, time, space, matter, dark information, everything known and unknown. Galaxies are the basic building blocks of the universe. These things can be found within the galaxy. Galaxies include it all. Chen Mu drives the evolutionary system and uses his control ability. A whole galaxy of everything. All consciousness, time, space, matter, dark information, known and unknown in the galaxy are all compressed and reorganized into a 3-foot sword under the influence of control ability. Chen Mu shook his hand. holding a 3-foot-long sword. Pull out from the gate of time and space. He looked at the sword in his hand and put it on his neck. Chen Mu's ordinary feelings could no longer resist the emotional torture. He couldn't bear it anymore. If it were the ruthless Chen Mu, he wouldn't care about these emotions at all, but as an ordinary person, Chen Mu has already suffered a mental breakdown. He thought, as long as Chen Mu is still here, I won't be able to find what I want. As long as I exist, I will not be able to find the ordinary that I want. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. Everything is meaningless. Chen Mu closed his eyes. Use your hands hard. The long sword slashed across Chen Mu's neck. Blood gushes out. Chen Mu's consciousness darkened. Bang. The body fell to the ground in response. Clang. The long sword fell to the ground with a crisp sound. As time passes little by little, a man with white hair and white clothes appeared out of thin air next to Chen Mu's body. He picked up the sword beside Chen Mu's body. He looked at Chen Mu's body, then stretched out his hand, and a stone flew over. He sat on the stone and looked at Chen Mu's body. I brought you 2 pieces of news, one good news and one bad news. The bad news is that your suicide attempt was not successful. The good news is that with this touch of your neck, you have finally succeeded in obtaining the ordinary you said. He stood up and disappeared into thin air. When a person has feelings, the person will be influenced by the feelings. When Chen Mu was ruthless, he couldn't feel any pain. When he has feelings, he suffers. The memory that Chen Mu possesses matches Chen Mu's own consciousness before he turned into an ascidian larva. This is not an unreasonable combination. In the end, Chen Mu was overwhelmed by various complex emotions and thoughts. Choose to use the sword of order to cut off everything you own and end your life. But, it's a pity. Chen Mu seemed to have forgotten. He is a cosmic giant at this moment, and the cosmic giant is composed of countless universes. And in those universes, everything, every flower and tree, is himself. The sword of order can cut off Chen Mu as an ordinary person, but it cannot cut off all consciousness, matter, and life in the finite universe. Chen Mu's suicide failed. But he also succeeded. Because this sword cut his own memory into pieces. Chen Mu didn't know. Because after Chen Mu wiped his neck, he lost his memory. His dark message, protected by the evolutionary system, did not spread. But because he has no memory, he is wandering in this universe without any purpose. Chen Mu didn't know how long he had been floating. Everything he saw was black. Time passed like this. Suddenly, Chen Mu saw a bright light ahead. He moved toward the light. Suddenly, Chen Mu opened his eyes. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 394. As soon as he opened his eyes, Chen Mu looked up. Right above him was a ceiling. Chen Mu came to his senses and found himself lying on a big bed. There was light outside the window. Chen Mu sat up, his mind was blank. He raised his hand and looked at his hand. This hand gave Chen Mu a sense of strangeness. It felt very strange. Chen Mu turned his head and looked to the side. There was a full-length mirror next to him, and a familiar, yet strange face was reflected in the mirror. There was a sense of familiarity, but Chen Mu couldn't recognize who this face was. Who am I? Where is this? Chen Mu looked around and his sight fell on the balcony, where there was light coming in. Chen Mu was about to get out of bed. With a press of his hand, Chen Mu suddenly noticed that there was a pillow next to him. This was a double bed. At the same time, Chen Mu also noticed that there were several medicine bottles on the bedside table. He subconsciously picked up the medicine bottle and looked at it. Sleeping pills? Empty. There are 10 bottles of sleeping pills on the cabinet, but all the pills are gone. Chen Mu didn't quite understand what was going on. He looked at the balcony and the sunlight outside. He stood up and walked to the balcony, looking at the scenery outside. The scenery in sight. It feels familiar, but strange. It seems like I've seen it before, but I can't remember it at all. Where is this? Knock knock. Just when Chenmu was a little confused, there was a knock at the door. Hearing the knock, Chenmu came back to his senses and looked at the door. Chenmu, are you okay? A familiar and somewhat strange man's voice sounded outside the door. But the moment this voice sounded, the dark consciousness that Chenmu had just integrated into this body seemed to have gained an opportunity to merge with the memories left in the body. Chenmu only felt a sharp pain in his brain. Suddenly, Chenmu remembered it. By the way, my name is Chenmu. He remembered. My name is Chenmu. I am an office worker. The person who called him outside the door was Chenchu, his fellow villager and best friend. This is his home. But why is Chenchu here? When this question came up, Chenmu felt a dull pain in his head, and he covered his head. It was as if some protective mechanism of the body did not want Chenmu to remember something. Chenmu. Knock knock. The knocking on the door outside was a little urgent. Chenmu couldn't remember it for a while. He walked to the door and opened it. A familiar face appeared in front of Chenmu. It was Chenchu. Next to Chenchu, there was a girl, that was Chenchu's girlfriend, Suchin. Chenchu looked a little flustered, but after seeing Chenmu, Chenchu couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He touched the back of his head and said, "Those things, there is nothing we can do." He patted Chenmu's shoulder, "Think more positively." Chenmu was a little confused. Think more positively? What is he talking about? Chenmu said, "What are you talking about?" Chenchu was stunned when he heard it, and looked at Suchin next to him. The two looked at Chenmu again. Chenchu said, "Just, forget it, you probably haven't had breakfast yet, I'll cook and have a meal." Well, okay. Chenmu didn't think much about it. Chenchu cooked and made food. Chenmu planned to change his clothes, and he opened the closet. In the closet, in addition to his own clothes in Chenmu's memory, he found that there were also women's clothes in the closet. Seeing this, Chenmu frowned. How can women's clothes be in my bedroom? Chenmu was confused, but didn't think much about it. After changing clothes, Chenmu looked at himself in the full-length mirror, and he felt that something was missing. He subconsciously raised his hand and put it on his shoulder. Feeling, something is missing. Forget it. Chenmu went out. At this time, Chenchu had already prepared delicious food. The three of them sat in front of the restaurant and had lunch. Chenchu and Suchin looked at Chenmu cautiously. Chenmu was halfway through his meal when he noticed their gazes. "Why are you staring at me? Is there something on my face?" Chenchu smiled awkwardly. I think you've changed a lot yesterday." Suchin next to him pushed Chenchu. Chenchu, shut up. What happened to me yesterday? Chenmu was still a little puzzled. Chenchu smiled. Nothing, it's fine now." Chenmu frowned. "I always feel that something is missing." Chenchu seems to know something, but seems to be afraid of something. Chenmu knows that he may have forgotten something. Some memories are gone. After lunch, Chenmu got up and returned to his bedroom. He looked at the two pillows on the double bed, the bottles on the bedside table, and the wardrobe. Suddenly, a figure flashed through Chenmu's mind, and his eyes fell on the drawer of the bedside table. It seemed as if there was something hidden in the drawer. Chenmu walked over. He held the handle of the drawer. He felt his heartbeat quicken. He knew that although he remembered some things, part of his memory was gone. For example, what happened yesterday, it seems that a long period of memory has disappeared. Chenmu has no answer to the question of why Chenchu and Suchin are in his own home. Some memories are blocked. A normal person, but when that normal person is stimulated by something that the mind cannot bear, the self-protection mechanism in the body will be activated, and the body will selectively forget some memories that ordinary people cannot bear. Chen Mu's memory is gone. At this moment, Chen Mu realized that if he opened the drawer, he could get some clues, but those memories, maybe some memories that he could not bear. For this reason, Chen Mu moved a little slowly, but he still slowly opened the drawer. The drawer was completely opened. In the drawer, there was a photo. Chen Mu looked at the photo and picked it up. The background of the photo was in the park. In the photo, one was Chen Mu, and the other was a girl who gave Chen Mu a sense of familiarity, but was a little strange. She was wearing casual clothes and a ponytail. She had a playful smile on her face. Her little face was deliberately close to Chen Mu, and Chen Mu had a smile on his face. Seeing this, the fragments of memory in Chen Mu's mind were slowly repaired. A memory came back. Chen Mu looked at the pillow on the bed. She was sleeping on this bed, and the clothes in the closet were also hers. Before, Chen Mu felt that something was missing. He remembered. After he got dressed every morning, she would always playfully hug his waist from behind, and then say coquettishly, "Sleep with me for a while longer." Chen Mu had a smile on his face. This girl was the girl he met in college, and she eventually became his girlfriend. Because they studied the same profession, they finally joined the same company and became office workers together. This home was actually the house he and she rented together, and they had lived here together for a while. But where is she now? And what did Chen Chu say and Su Qin do? Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 395. There were other things in the drawer. Chen Mu looked down and found that in the corner of the drawer, a box was lying there quietly. Chen Mu picked up the box and opened it to take a look. In the box was a silver bracelet. Chen Mu was stunned when he saw the bracelet. "This is her bracelet. Why have you never taken off this bracelet? My mother bought it for me when I was a child. It is a custom in my place. It is said that if you wear it, you can grow up safely." She snuggled in Chen Mu's arms and explained. She smiled and said, "My mother never let me take it off since I was a child, and then I kept wearing it. I couldn't take it off when I took a bath or slept. I was not used to it at first, but it looked good. I kept wearing it. Do you think it looks good?" "It looks good." A fragment of Chen Mu's memory popped up. Never took it off. This bracelet, in her memory, she never took it off. But now this bracelet is lying in the drawer. This is a custom in her place. Once the bracelet is put on, it will not be taken off. Unless dead. Chen Mu suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head. Suddenly, his heart ached. The feeling was like being held tightly by a big hand, as if he couldn't breathe. Some hidden memories entered Chen Mu's mind. Chen Mu remembered. That day, the girl's name was Zhuang Xiaonian. She was a well-behaved and lovely girl. After Chen Mu became her boyfriend, the two had been together. She was very smart and considerate. Chen Mu had recently been preparing to meet his parents and prepare for marriage. In Chen Mu's eyes, she was his life partner. And she was the same, treating Chen Mu as her lover, paying attention to everything about Chen Mu at all times. When they lived together, she silently paid. No matter what difficulties Chen Mu encountered, she would always accompany him and cheer him up. Her pretty face always had a sunny and energetic smile. Only when she was there, Chen Mu always felt that his life was meaningful. No matter what he did, he could always think that everything he did was meaningful because she was supporting him behind him. The future was originally full of hope, sunshine, and expectations. But, just 7 days ago, a car accident happened. When Chen Mu got the news and rushed to the hospital, he saw a dead body lying on the bed. When Chen Mu heard the news of her car accident, he was stunned. Car accident, accident. These things, in Chen Mu's view, are very, very far away. He always hears about some car accidents and accidents in the news, and always sees others die at a young age because of something. But Chen Mu never thought that those things would happen to him, the most important person in his life. It won't be so bloody, no, it's absolutely impossible. I don't want to think too much, maybe it's just a minor injury, nothing will happen at that time, Chen Mu comforted himself like this. But when he saw that familiar person lying on the bed, that pretty face was no longer in shape. Chen Mu's mind was blank. His heart seemed to break, and severe pain surged into his heart. He just subconsciously walked to her side and held her hand tightly. He didn't cry, but the tears just couldn't be stopped, and they flowed from his eyes. Chen Mu held her hand tightly, but her hand was cold. He put her hand on his face, trying to use his body temperature to warm her up. He trembled and said, "Impossible, impossible, didn't you promise me that you would stay with me until old age? Didn't you say that you would have children for me? Didn't you say that you would stay by my side forever? What is this? What is this, what is this? Woo woo." Finally, he couldn't help crying. Uncontrollable emotions surged into his heart. Since the age of 17, Chen Mu has never cried again. He knows that crying is useless, it can't change anything, it will only embarrass himself. But now he is 27 years old, and at this moment, he cried. He didn't care if anyone was watching, he didn't care what others thought of him, and he didn't care if he would be embarrassed. He cried. It was just an accident. There was no deep hatred, just an accident that seemed very common, but seemed very far away. But it took away everything he cherished. And he was powerless, without any power, but changed that accident. Then what? Chen Mu didn't know. For Chen Mu, his world had stopped from the moment she fell. I wish to get one person's heart and stay together until old age. My wish is to find a girl, build a nest with her, and then grow old with her. Later, I met her, and I knew my wish could come true. It was her, I didn't want any other girls in the world, I only wanted her, I only wanted her by my side, everything was enough, all efforts were meaningful. That night, Chen Mu was in his sleep, looking at the girl sleeping beside him, he thought so in his heart. But, she was gone. Then, everything was meaningless. It was a bloody thing, something that shouldn't have happened, something that should have been far away, something that shouldn't have happened, but it happened. And Chen Mu couldn't accept it? Just like that, in a daze, Chen Mu spent 7 days, and he stayed by her side. Until she was cremated under the arrangement of her family. Then, just yesterday, Chen Mu bought 10 bottles of sleeping pills and took them all that night. All the memories came back. Chen Mu raised his hand and touched his cheek, and it was wet. His face was full of tears. The memories came back. But these memories made Chen Mu feel weak. He sat down slowly, leaning against the bedside table, and sat. All the memories came back, and those doubtful questions also had answers. The reason why Chen Chu and the others were here was because Chen Chu was worried that Chen Mu would be upset, so he came to comfort Chen Mu. The reason why he lost his memory was probably because of the sleeping pills. Chen Mu's heart was like being held by a big hand, and it hurt. As if I can't breathe. In this world, everything around me has its reason for being there. Perhaps, you can look back at everything around you. Those things are there for a reason. Just like the things in Chen Mu's bedroom. But the lives of ordinary people are sometimes not satisfactory. Sometimes, it feels very coincidental and bloody, and things that shouldn't happen will happen around you. The question is, how to accept it? Anyway, face this question. Chen Mu has no answer. Because now his face is full of tears, and the tears in his eyes can't stop at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 396. After Chen Mu regained his memory, he felt unprecedented powerlessness and pain. Death cannot be changed. As an ordinary person, he has no ability to change. He collapsed and cried for a while before falling asleep. This time, he didn't commit suicide, but continue to live. Get up in the morning, wash and brush your teeth, go to work, wait until you get home from get off work, and go to bed. Day after day, year after year. As people of the same age around me gradually get married and have children. Chen Mu's parents began to urge Chen Mu to get married and even arranged blind dates for Chen Mu. But there is a grave in Chen Mu's heart, and she will always be buried in the grave. No matter who you look at, they are not as good as her. Chen Mu could choose to go on a blind date or find someone to marry again, but he did not do so. The days are very dull and boring. But time waits for no one, time is passing. The body changed from the body of a young man in his 20s to the body of a middle-aged man in his 40s. He is still the same as before, repeating the boring life and boring days. Those words urging marriage are gone. It's just that parents and relatives and elders around them always shake their heads when they see Chen Mu. Chen Mu didn't care. He just took out the photos in the drawer every night and looked at her, who still smiled brightly in the photos. Chen Mu couldn't help but cover his face, secretly choking and crying in the middle of the night. He would always think and fantasize about how happy he and her would be if she were still alive. Time is passing again. In a blink of an eye. Chen Mu has pale hair, a lot of ridges on his face, and his whole body is as old as a withered leaf. Life is full of trivial matters and problems. My parents have also grown old. This night, the old Chen Mu was lying on the bed, turning sideways and looking at the photo next to the pillow. In the photo, her smile is still cheerful. He stretched out his skinny hand and touched the face in the photo with his skinny hand, which was as skinny as a branch. My legs and feet have been getting worse and worse recently, and there are a lot of trivial things in my life. Fortunately, I saved some money before, so I don't have to worry about money. But, sometimes, I still feel lonely, and sometimes, I still miss you. I'm already old, but I still can't forget the things that happened between me and you. Old, old. Chen Mu's voice was full of vicissitudes of life. Another year or two passed like this. Chen Mu was lying on the hospital bed, his breathing was weak, and he was already dying. Next to the hospital bed, there were only nurses and doctors and some noisy but incomprehensible voices. The fragments in his memory appeared in Chen Mu's mind. On that day, the sun was shining brightly, and her smile was still so innocent and lovely. He couldn't help but kiss her. She blushed and said playfully, "As promised, if you kiss me, you will be responsible." Chen Mu smiled, "Okay, I'll be responsible. I'll marry you." "Humph, who would believe it, if you open and close your mouth, you will marry me." She said this, but the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, and her eyes were full of joy. At that time, Chen Mu didn't respond. She leaned into Chen Mu's arms and said, "I believe it, don't lie to me." That day, the sun was just right, and her smile was so cute. Thinking about every scene with her, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but raise slightly. "Doctor." Following the nurse's reminder, the doctor looked at the electrocardiogram aside, and the electrocardiogram turned into a straight line. Human beings are composed of matter and dark information. The body of an ordinary person will die. Under normal circumstances, dark information and memories disappear after a person dies. But Chen Mu wouldn't. Because he is bound to the system, and the system will protect these dark information and memories. So, when Chen Mu died, he opened his eyes with memory. He could see the body lying on the hospital bed. He was startled slightly, raised his hand and looked at his hands. Is this a soul? So there really is a soul in this world, Chen Mu thought. If there is a soul, then she must have gone to heaven, right? As he spoke, Chen Mu looked towards the sky. Suddenly, Chen Mu felt his eyes go dark. Then it lit up. Chen Mu found that the surrounding environment had changed. This is. Chen Mu looked forward and saw an extremely huge giant. This giant's body is made up of bubbles one after another, and a little bit of stars can be seen inside the bubbles. The galaxy is composed of a few stars, which look so bright. Suddenly, Chen Mu felt an inexplicable force. His soul was sucked by this force and flew in the direction of the cosmic giant. What's going on? Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to the cosmic giant, the body of the cosmic giant enlarged in front of his eyes. Getting bigger, getting bigger, getting bigger. Suddenly, Chen Mu's soul was integrated into the cosmic giant. A moment. All the memories came back. Chen Mu woke up. It turns out that when Chen Mu transformed back into the Ascidian larvae Chen Mu at the beginning, he only used a little bit of dark information from his extremely huge dark information. The dark information that Chen Mu possesses is very, very huge. In the entire cosmic giant, there are countless universes, and these universes have countless dark information. If you want to make a comparison, then for Chen Mu, the dark information needed by an ordinary person is equal to the number of quantum used in a galaxy. All along, Chen Mu has been experiencing those ordinary lives in the form of a clone. And his original body has been the cosmic giant incarnated by this finite universe. Always. After Chen Mu remembered everything, he carefully savored everything he experienced after becoming an ordinary person. First, he was himself before he became a sea squirt larva. The memory does not match the dark information of ordinary people, so it leads to mental breakdown and suicide. After that, the remaining dark information entered an ordinary person who died because of taking sleeping pills. Because of the loss of memory, he thought that ordinary person was himself. Chen Mu said, "In the end, I experienced the life of an ordinary person for a lifetime. The emotions of that lifetime are quite interesting. The ordinariness of that lifetime is indeed what Chen Mu wants to experience. That is the ordinary and ordinary he wants." But Chen Mu has a doubt. What if, at that time, he did not stay with that woman wholeheartedly, but chose to listen to his parents and find another partner through blind dates? Chen Mu thought about it. Do it if you want to. Thinking of this, Chen Mu opened the time dimension and came to the timeline of countless parallel universes. In countless parallel universes, there are countless possibilities. In that life, Chen Mu chose to stick to his original intention in the universe where Chen Mu was. What if he did not stick to his original intention? In these infinite parallel universes, there must be a Chen Mu. Chen Mu wanted to see the result of not sticking to it. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 397. Every universe will give birth to a new parallel universe at every moment, that is to say, there are countless parallel universes in one universe, with countless possibilities. Chen Mu wanted to find his own timeline that chose not to stick to his original heart. Soon, he found another Chen Mu from other timelines in this infinite parallel universe with infinite possibilities. In this timeline, Chen Mu, who became immortal, chose another path. After he recovered his mortal memory, this Chen Mu, like Chen Mu in the original universe, did not choose to commit suicide, but chose to continue living. After working day after day and year after year, his parents urged him to get married. He still remembered that girl, but it was not easy to go against his parents' wishes. At the beginning, He participated in a few blind dates and planned to perfunctorily. But as time went by, Chen Mu in this timeline gradually compromised with fate and chose to meet other girls through blind dates. Later, he had a wife. That wife was an ordinary girl. In this way, time passed little by little. However, life did not change because of her appearance. He ate, slept, and worked as before. Time flies, he has changed from a young man in his 20s to a middle-aged man in his 40s. The child is also growing up day by day. However, life does not make him feel any waves in his heart. He still works every day. What is the meaning of life? Chen Mu does not know. He has no time to think about this problem, because now he is not alone, there is a family behind him. Parents and children. He can only concentrate on making money. Occasionally, in the middle of the night, when he closes his eyes, the familiar face will appear in his mind. Chen Mu can only close his eyes and fall asleep. Unknowingly. The years pass. The children have grown up and started their own families, and Chen Mu has also entered old age from middle age. He can no longer continue to work outside to support his family, he can only stay at home and help the children of Dai children. This kind of life is tedious and boring. In this way, he continued this tedious and boring life for several more years. Chen Mu is old. He is lying on the hospital bed, already at the end of his life. Crying can be heard around him. The children were crying nearby. Somewhat noisy. Chen Mu thought back to his life. Getting married, having children, working to support the family, getting sick and getting old. These things were like complicated work. There was no meaning. That was not the life he wanted. Those memories disappeared. In the last moment, a picture appeared in Chen Mu's mind. That day, the sun was bright and clear. He was standing in front of the railing on the second floor, and he saw a figure inadvertently. She was walking on the playground with her classmates, talking and laughing. She had 2 ponytails, revealing her white neck, and her profile was beautiful. She seemed to feel something, turned her face slightly, and looked at Chen Mu. Their eyes met. She smiled at Chen Mu. In his dying moments, Chen Mu's mind emerged with that fragment from the past, the fragment that he had hidden deep in his heart. After thinking of this, Chen Mu's mouth corners couldn't help but slightly rise. Then, consciousness disappeared. He thought he had accepted his fate and was ready to start a new life. But he was wrong. The moment she appeared, his life was tied to her. The day she died, his life stopped on that day. As a cosmic giant, Chen Mu saw every day that Chen Mu experienced in this timeline. But the moment Chen Mu died in this timeline, Chen Mu fell into thought. No matter what he chose in the middle, whether to resist fate and stop looking at other girls, or to accept fate and accept other girls, the final result is the same. As a mortal, Chen Mu's feelings for that girl will always bind him. Until the end of his life. Is this the love in the relationship? Can people be together for life and death? According to Chen Mu's understanding of love. In fact, it is the dopamine secreted by the brain that stimulates men and makes men have that kind of reproductive impulse. It is because of this stimulation that men will look for the opposite sex. But then, when the two are together, the emotion called love is generated. Sometimes it can become a belief in life. Let them even ignore their own lives and pursue that kind of love. Some animals that Chen Mu knows will also have this situation. For example, an animal called black swan in the earth before has this habit. There is only one partner in a lifetime. If the partner dies, they will choose to die for love. This is the love of ordinary people. Chen Mu understood. What if that woman comes back to life? Chen Mu had a new idea. If the woman dies, then the feelings with her will always exist. What if the woman comes back to life? When she gets old, can I still love her? Sometimes, When a relationship reaches its peak, one of them dies, then that relationship will be mythical. That relationship will be unforgettable, and no other object can win over the dead person. But what if the two stay together? Stay together forever? Will the so-called love still exist when we get old? Chen Mu is interested in studying this matter. Thinking of this, Chen Mu changed the time scale. Set the time back to the time when Chen Mu recovered his mortal memory. When Chen Mu returned to this time scale, it was equivalent to creating another parallel universe. Chen Mu looked at this parallel universe through his consciousness vision. Chen Mu was leaning against the bedside table at this moment, covering his face helplessly and crying. At this time, he had just recovered his mortal memory. Let's start the research here. Chen Mu thought. He began to collect Zhuang Xiaonian's dark information. After an ordinary person dies, her consciousness, that is, the dark information, will spread. These dark information will spread all over the world, and then these scattered dark information will be reacquired by other life forms and become part of the consciousness of other life forms. Technology cannot collect these scattered dark information until it reaches a certain level. So when ordinary people die, they are dead. But for Chen Mu, the technology he has surpassed various dimensions. Time and space can no longer limit him. All the dark information in the infinite universe can be used directly as long as Chen Mu needs it. Chen Mu found all the scattered dark information of Zhuang Xiaonian. Then he molded the dark information into the appearance of Zhuang Xiaonian again. Then he used matter to mold Zhuang Xiaonian's body. The dark information and the body overlapped. Zhuang Xiaonian was equivalent to resurrection. Chen Mu in this parallel universe was crying uncontrollably. He was immersed in the world of helplessness and his own sadness. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Mu, what's wrong? At this time, a voice came. The familiar voice drilled into his ears, and Chen Mu was stunned. He raised his face and saw a familiar figure looking at him by the bed, her eyes full of worry and confusion. Chen Mu was stunned. Are you dreaming? Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 398. Zhuang Xiaonian looked under the bed, as if looking for something. When she didn't find it, she got off the bed barefoot and came to Chen Mu. She knelt beside Chen Mu, stretched out her hand, held Chen Mu's hand, looked at Chen Mu with her moving eyes, and said, "What happened? Why are you crying?" As she spoke, she held Chen Mu's hand with one hand, and stretched out her little hand to wipe the tears from the corners of Chen Mu's eyes. Chen Mu's eyes trembled slightly, and he stretched out his hand and hugged Zhuang Xiaonian into his arms. He hugged tightly. At this moment, Chen Mu didn't care whether she was a human or a ghost, whether she was dreaming or crazy. He didn't dare to, he just wanted to hold her, for fear that she would leave suddenly. Zhuang Xiaonian was stunned for a moment. She smiled, raised her hand, patted Chen Mu's hair, and said softly, "Okay, okay, I understand, I won't ask any more, cry if you want to, I'll accompany you." She stroked Chen Mu's hair, as if she was a child. Obviously, she is more petite. Chen Mu's mood slowly recovered. He looked at Zhuang Xiaonian and stroked her face. He felt a warmth in his hand. She didn't feel the coldness on the bed. At this moment, she was a flesh and blood person. Zhuang Xiaonian noticed Chen Mu's gaze and smiled. "What's wrong?" Chen Mu said, "Am I dreaming?" Zhuang Xiaonian smiled. "What, you are so weird. But, speaking of dreams." Zhuang Xiaonian looked around and said, "I feel like I am dreaming, I had a nightmare." Then, she retracted her gaze and looked at Chen Mu, smiling. "I dreamed that I was dead, and those feelings were so clear at that time, and then, I woke up." Chen Mu was stunned. He held Zhuang Xiaonian's hand. "No matter what, it's good that you are alive, it's good that you are alive." He didn't care how Zhuang Xiaonian in front of him came back to life. He only had one thought now, that she was good. Seeing Chen Mu's expression, Zhuang Xiaonian smiled, really, silly. Knock knock. There was a knock on the door. Hearing the knock, Chen Mu and Zhuang Xiaonian looked at the door together. Chen Mu, it's me, are you okay? It was Chen Chu's voice. Zhuang Xiaonian was slightly startled, why is Chen Chu here? As she said that, her eyes were full of doubts, and then she walked to the door and opened it. The door opened. Chen Chu's eyes were a little worried at first, but when Chen Chu saw Zhuang Xiaonian, his pupils suddenly shrank, his steps back, and he fell directly to the ground. He looked at Zhuang Xiaonian with horror, as if he saw a ghost. Ghost. Zhuang Xiaonian was stunned, what did you say? Ah, suddenly, there was a scream. Zhuang Xiaonian looked at the source of the sound, and Chen Chu's girlfriend Su Qin looked at Zhuang Xiaonian in horror, and suddenly her body softened, and the whole person fell softly. Zhuang Xiaonian was a little puzzled. Obviously, Zhuang Xiaonian's sudden resurrection was a good thing for Chen Mu. But for others who saw Zhuang Xiaonian being cremated, it was not so easy to accept. Chen Chu and Su Qin hurriedly moved out and left Chen Mu's house that day. After Chen Mu explained the situation to Zhuang Xiaonian was a little puzzled. On the next day, Chen Chu and Su Qin suggested that Zhuang Xiaonian go to the hospital for a checkup to determine whether he was a normal person, not a ghost. No. I don't want you to go to the hospital. Chen Mu got anxious when he heard this. When Zhuang Xiaonian heard this, she smiled, leaned her little head against Chen Mu's chest, and said, let me go, no matter what, I want to know what's going on with me. When Chen Mu heard this, he didn't know what to do, and could only say, no matter what the result is, I won't let you leave me. Well, I promise. In the end, the result was good. Zhuang Xiaonian is a person, a living person. Although this matter is unbelievable. But after getting the hospital's approval, those people gradually accepted this matter over time. That is, Zhuang Xiaonian came back to life. As time went by, this matter was slowly forgotten. When Chen Mu was 30 years old, the two finally got married. Although this marriage was very difficult, Zhuang Xiaonian's parents fully agreed, but Chen Mu's parents knew that Zhuang Xiaonian came back to life, they were very uneasy and never agreed. Until Chen Mu said that he would not marry anyone but her, and if she didn't marry him, he would never get married in his life. Chen Mu's parents could only nod and agree. Later, as time went by, Zhuang Xiaonian's thoughtfulness and filial piety gradually moved Chen Mu's parents. Later, after Zhuang Xiaonian gave birth to a child, Chen Mu's parents smiled and were very satisfied with Zhuang Xiaonian. As time went by, the child gradually grew up, and the relationship between Chen Mu and Zhuang Xiaonian was very good. Even in middle age, the relationship between the two can almost be said to be inseparable. There is no so-called 3-year itch at all. This allowed Chen Mu, the observer of the Z4 universe, to find the reason for this situation. The reason was not Chen Mu, but Zhuang Xiaonian. Zhuang Xiaonian's personality was that of a careful, gentle, and tolerant type, plus he was good-looking and had a good personality. Therefore, no matter what problems Chen Mu encountered outside, when he returned home, there were signs of conflicts with Zhuang Xiaonian. Zhuang Xiaonian calmed Chen Mu's anger and comforted him through her thoughtfulness, gentleness, and tolerance. She always had a smile on her face, and her eyes were always full of love when she looked at Chen Mu. Simply put, no matter what Chen Mu did, Zhuang Xiaonian could always truly love Chen Mu. And Chen Mu had no temper when facing such a woman. Days passed, and the child grew up. The relationship between the two was still as perfect as before. Later, the two grew old. Each other's faces were full of wrinkles. The two would still walk hand in hand in the park. Later, It was not Chen Mu who left first, but Zhuang Xiaonian. When Zhuang Xiaonian left, the smile that Chen Mu often had on his face disappeared. He was skinny and often sat in front of the door with a cane in a daze. At night, he often looked at Zhuang Xiaonian's photos. As time went by, Chen Mu was about to grow old. He lay on the hospital bed, closed his eyes, and thought about the scenes in his memory. The girl's smile was in every scene. There were tears in his eyes and a smile on his face. His consciousness slowly disappeared. And this life, for him, is meaningful. It is perfect. He is very happy that she has accompanied him along the way. Chen Mu of the Z4 universe saw the scene through his consciousness. He fell into thought, there is no so-called 3-year itch. Dependence on each other and growing old together is not what I thought. There is a 3-year itch, but there are also couples who grow old together, but they are a minority. When the personalities of each other are suitable, loyal to the marriage, and one of the partners is tolerant, and the personality of the other partner is actually not bad. This situation may occur between the two. Of course, this situation is rare. There are more conflicts. Before marriage, men want women to never change, while women want men to become what they want. But this is almost impossible. Women's appearance will inevitably change, but men rarely change to what women want to see. In this way, it is difficult not to have conflicts after marriage. Chen Mu and Zhuang Xiaonian in this parallel universe are obviously a minority, that kind. And this is not quite the same as what Chen Mu imagined. But Chen Mu also felt a kind of emotion. It was a feeling of satisfaction and happiness. This is the most perfect side of love. Chen Mu said, look at the other me, and see what would happen if the object was not Zhuang Xiaonian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 399. Chen Mu went back to the past and came to another timeline. Chen Mu met Zhuang Xiaonian in Lianyang College, and that was their first encounter. Admission to the school is based on the scores obtained after the exam. The first choice of Chen Mu in this timeline was not Lianyang College, but Yuhei College. Later, because of his low score, he entered Lianyang College. Therefore, Chen Mu in the Z4 universe chose to modify the grades of Chen Mu in this timeline. Because of the modification of the grades, Chen Mu in this timeline became a student of Yuhei College. In this way, the encounter he should have with Zhuang Xiaonian was gone. In this way, the opposite sex he can meet and contact will not have Zhuang Xiaonian. Without someone with her personality, can his future still be so happy and satisfied? Chen Mu wanted to know the answer to this question. After Chen Mu was admitted to Yuhei College, he was no different from other students. Just playing and studying, squandering his youth. However, this time Chen Mu did not come into contact with the opposite sex he liked. College life passed in the blink of an eye. He was still alone. During the time in college, he also had several girlfriends, but without exception, all ended in breakups. There are various reasons for breaking up, and if you want to get to the bottom of it, it is inappropriate. After graduation, Chen Mu started working. After starting work, he mechanically repeated his work day after day. After those few relationships in college, he seemed to be completely disappointed in love. Even if he saw a pretty girl, he would look at her a few more times driven by dopamine, and then look away. This mechanical life is repeated every day. Sometimes, he would stare at himself in the mirror, a little confused. When he was young, he had a dream, and his dream was very simple, just to find a girl and start a family, that's all. But now he came to his senses and found that he was not qualified to talk about love at all. He earned money from his work, needed to support himself, and also needed to supplement the family expenses. Even if he had a girl, he couldn't give her happiness. Even if he abandoned these concerns and didn't consider them, the simplest thing was to find a girl he liked, and she also wanted to like him. It's too hard. It's as hard as ascending to heaven. After being confused, Chen Mu could only put on his clothes and continue to work. On the other side, Zhuang Xiaonian's situation was similar to Chen Mu's at the moment. She was also single. To the most important day of the timeline. As if it was a fixed fate, a car accident took Zhuang Xiaonian's life. But Chen Mu in this timeline knew nothing about it, and he didn't know the person named Zhuang Xiaonian. This time, Chen Mu in this timeline did not commit suicide like before, and if he did not commit suicide, there would be no situation of being possessed by another Chen Mu in the dark information state. Chen Mu in the Z4 universe did not care, but chose to continue observing. Chen Mu in this timeline continued to work and continued his boring life. When he got older, his parents began to urge him to get married. He also started to get involved in various blind dates. After many blind dates, he chose a woman. And this is not love, this is marriage for marriage. The two got married and had children. Although they slept together, Chen Mu and her relationship was not like that of a couple, but more like living together. The two often had conflicts, and Chen Mu was often complained by her. Sometimes the two would quarrel. In this way, time passed longer and longer. The child grew up day by day, but Chen Mu and her did not change because of the child's growth, and they would still quarrel. In middle age, Chen Mu faced the pressure of life, the pressure of family, and the complaints of people around him. He learned to numb himself with alcohol and smoking. Time passed in a flash. The children grew up, and Chen Mu was diagnosed with lung cancer. In his dying moments, he lay on the hospital bed. What he heard around him was the crying of his children and grandchildren. Chen Mu recalled the past scenes. Various memory fragments flashed in his mind. However, none of the memory fragments made him feel meaningful. He had lived this life, and lived hard. But, none of those memory fragments could make him laugh. The memory fragments in his mind slowly disappeared. His consciousness also slowly disappeared. Chen Mu in the Z4 universe watched the life of Chen Mu in this timeline like an audience. He fell into thought, life. This is the life of an ordinary person Chen Mu, who was in the dark information state, crossed his arms. The time dimension is like the time bar of a movie. And life is like a movie. When the movie starts playing, the time bar will keep moving forward. It will always move forward until the end of the movie, and then it will stop. And in the process of pushing the time bar, the picture will keep changing, whether you like it or not. A person, living, if there is no support of emotion and belief. He lives like a puppet. Maybe sometimes, he will cry and laugh, but who knows whether this crying is real crying, and whether this laughing is real laughing. And only he knows this. Chen Mu is thinking about the previous timeline. He met Zhuang Xiaonian. The two depended on each other and regarded love as the belief of each other's life. In the end, even if they died, they could leave with a smile when recalling the past. But in this timeline, he lived like a puppet, living for the sake of living, pushed by time ruthlessly, and finally came to an end. It's a very, very boring life, very ordinary, and very boring. This is the evaluation given by Chen Mu. It's too difficult for a person to meet someone who likes each other and is suitable for each other in his life. And for Chen Mu in this timeline, the most suitable person for him is Zhuang Xiaonian. Because he didn't meet Zhuang Xiaonian, he became a puppet without a soul and spent an ordinary life. And Zhuang Xiaonian, like other timelines, died at a young age. This is the ordinary, limited by material, time, and death, fragile and helpless, sometimes even difficult to live. In a short life, you can only live for 100 years, and these 100 years will pass in the blink of an eye. If you can't find your own meaning, or can't find the meaning of your existence, 100 years, it's like wasted. When the end comes, I can't even laugh when I think back on my past. Sad, pitiful. Chen Mu muttered. But, suddenly, a flash of inspiration came to his mind. He raised his hand. Before I became a sea squirt larva, wasn't I also immortal? Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 400. Yes. I used to be an ordinary person. And now I am an infinite universe. The cosmic giant that Chen Mu currently constitutes has a limited universe in its body, but in fact it is not just that. Chen Mu has long been free from the constraints of time, consciousness, space, and material dimensions. His existence transcends these dimensions. He exists in every time scale in the world. Although it seems to be a finite universe, Chen Mu is already an infinite universe. His existence is endless and can only be summarized as infinite. He used to be an ordinary person, but he is no longer. If an existence moves forward, it moves forward. Even if he doesn't want to move forward, he has already moved forward. It is impossible to go back to the past, no matter what he does, it is impossible to go back to the past. Just like Chen Mu at this moment. Even if Chen Mu takes the initiative to erase all his existence and turn himself into a mortal. Is that mortal still him? Obviously not. I can't go back. No matter what I do, I can't go back. Ordinary life, experienced. Chen Mu seemed to have found the meaning, but he didn't. Chen Mu's consciousness at this moment is the consciousness of the infinite universe, which envelopes the consciousness of the infinite life of the infinite universe. His body is the body of the infinite universe, which envelopes all the matter in the infinite universe. He has no emotions, but he is the collection of emotions of all the life in the infinite universe. He has emotions, but he can't feel birth, aging, sickness and death, joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness like ordinary life. Just like sunlight. Sunlight has 7 colors, but when it is melted together into light, there is only one color, that is white. Is a life without emotions, beliefs, and death a life? Is the existence of such a life meaningful? These questions emerged in Chen Mu's mind. After thinking about this, Chen Mu suddenly had an idea. His life at this moment is similar to Chen Mu in the third timeline he saw before. That Chen Mu did not encounter anything meaningful in his life. That's because the fate line of Zhuang Xiaonian that Chen Mu will meet was destroyed by himself. If there is a Chen Mu who experiences the same situation as himself, ruthlessly evolving, but encounters an existence like Zhuang Xiaonian, what will happen? Will he find his own meaning? Will he find his own meaning, be happy and satisfied like Chen Mu in the second timeline? After a little thought, this question is worth exploring. The most important thing is that Chen Mu has nothing to do now. Since you think so, then do it and do some research. Thinking of this, Chen Mu moved directly. He jumped the time dimension and came to the beginning of the Z4 parallel universe timeline, which was the moment when Chen Mu was just born. When Chen Mu came to the Z4 parallel universe line, this line separated another timeline. We can call this timeline Z41 timeline. The reason why Chen Mu used his original timeline as the experimental subject is because only he is the most like himself. The reason why Chen Mu lost his feelings is because of the environment of this parallel universe. This is why Chen Mu was a cold-hearted person from the beginning, and he gradually lost his feelings and eventually became the current Chen Mu. This timeline is the most suitable timeline for Chen Mu to do research. Only by using his past self as research can he find out what he wants. I plan to cultivate the me in this timeline into a similar existence to me for research. In this way, with his future ability, he will definitely hear the 2 words Chen Mu. If he knows the truth, the research will not be able to continue. Just like when humans study humans, it is best to let the humans being studied not know that they are being studied, so that they can conduct research better. Therefore, Chenmu decided not to let Chenmu in this timeline know the name Chenmu. This is not difficult. A person's name comes from the dark information that his parents have been exposed to before. Therefore, Chenmu changed the name of Chenmu in this timeline by changing the dark information in his parents' brains. Then call you Chenyuan. In this way, even if he hears the two words Chenmu when traveling in the universe, it doesn't matter much. The Chenmu who arranged this timeline should be called Chenyuan. Chenyuan was born and raised, just as Chenmu expected. He experienced the same thing as himself, and later became a person with a cold personality. While Chenmu was observing Chenyuan growing up, Chenmu came to another timeline and collected Zhuang Xiaonian's dark information. He modified the dark information memory of Zhuang Xiaonian and sent it back to the timeline where Chenyuan was. First, I have to cultivate Chenyuan's personality to be the same as when I turned into a sea squirt larva, and then give him the system on the day I get the evolution system. Then when can Zhuang Xiaonian contact him? If Zhuang Xiaonian contacted him before I turned into a sea squirt larva, his personality would not be as cold as before. In other words, it can only be contacted later. If we come into contact with it later, Chenyuan will become a living creature or a celestial body. A normal child cannot fall in love with such a thing. Unless she is a life from a high-level civilization and has a way to know that there is an intelligent life consciousness in that celestial body, then it is possible. After this thought came up, Chenmu set off. He left the earth and came to 1,000,000 light years away. In the void, he thought. A star appeared out of thin air, and planets surrounded the star one after another. Then, life appeared one after another on the planet. These lives were angels with wings. Chenmu pinched the body of an angel, and then stored Zhuang Xiaonian's subconsciousness into that body. These angels and the layout of these planets were all made by Chenmu imitating the angel civilization in another timeline. With the thought from Chenmu, these angels all gained memories. These angels inherited the faith of the angel civilization in another timeline and became the guardians of this cosmic civilization. Zhuang Xiaonian was also given a new name and new memories by Chenmu. Yet. And she also became a member of this angel civilization. Looking at this new angel civilization in front of him, Chenmu's subconscious returned to where Chenyuan was. Next, just wait until Chenyuan grows up, give him the system, and then let Ya meet him.